Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason. And we are back with another movie review show. Today, once again, we're going to be reviewing two films, Jay and Silent Bob the Reboot, and Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of the Fire Saga.
Not the Story of Fire Saga.
Whatever. Story of Fire Saga. It's the longest title in the world, so
It's not.
Yeah, it's long though. It's not the longest in the world, but it's definitely in the top 10. It's pretty long. It's a long title. I'm just going to go with Eurovision probably.
Yeah.
So, but before we get into both of those films, how's everything going with you today, Jason?
Good. We just had the 4th of July weekend, obviously, and it was kind of a big
we
weekend.
all did.
Yes, we all did. Yes,
in America.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It was kind of a big weekend for my family because we decided to actually be together for the first time since all this pandemic began. And it was a big decision, because we've had some get-togethers where we were all just like 3 different camps, 6 feet apart, But we made a decision as a group that since we are all being as cautious as we can be, then it seemed like an acceptable amount of risk, I guess, to have like an old-fashioned family get-together where we're all actually mixing with one another. But it didn't come lightly because it's not without risk. But since we're all being safe as possible on our own, then it didn't seem like that much of a risk to kind of expand our, I guess, quarantine group to the whole family. Yeah, I mean the local family. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't do really anything. I didn't have my son or my fiance's kids weren't here, so we pretty much just stayed home. We didn't really do anything for the 4th, to be honest with you. We had just another couple over that Friday night, and just had some food and played some cards and that sort of stuff. But on the 4th, we pretty much just watched movies and hung out, watched TV shows and stuff like that. So nothing too crazy or anything. So it was just a cool, because I had a 3-day weekend. So it was just a cool, relaxing 3-day weekend. So I didn't do a whole heck of a lot. Like I said, other than just watch a bunch of movies and a bunch of shows. Was pretty much the highlight of my weekend for the most part. So
cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, we did the barbecue and we did the fireworks, and it was, I don't know how it was where you are, but in Yuba City, it was an insane amount of illegal fireworks. Everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing memes about it, and it seems like because a lot of the places weren't doing actual live fireworks shows at Cal Expo or any of the bigger event centers and that sort of stuff weren't doing them this year. It seems like everybody went out and bought the illegal ones and just did it themselves, which is, we didn't even go out and look. I mean, we've been literally seeing fireworks. I mean, we saw a couple out the window, but we literally been hearing and seeing fireworks for, I feel like, the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? We got neighbors, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of sale they had. I don't know what the going rate of illegal fireworks are, but I mean, I could have sworn it was the same people or group of people that were lighting them off every single night for like the last 2 weeks. And I'm just like, because it sounded like it was coming from the same direction. But it was a lot of fireworks on the 4th, especially. I mean, it was all night long, and we got 2 dogs that were all freaking out the whole time.
Yeah.
It was but it's the 4th of July; it's expected. Well, with that said, let's get into it.
All right.
We're going to start off with the first film, which is Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. If you could please take that one for us.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So this is it's kind of a new release. Not really. I thought it came out pretty recently, but I guess it was released actually last November because we were looking for something to pair with Eurovision, and I think this works because it's another comedy.
Yeah, it's another comedy. It works.
But it recently came out available on Amazon Prime, so it is free to stream with Amazon Prime. Okay, so I think both you and I are both kind of like moderate Kevin Smith fans. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I like Clerks. I like some of the first Jay and Silent Bob films. I thought Dogma was okay. I like Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then he's done a bunch of other stuff like Cop Out and stuff like that was crap. You know what I mean? He has done a lot of crap movies too, though. So
yeah. I'm not like a Kevin Smith super fan, but I do like him. I do like that whole kind of universe. I love Clerks. I love Chasing Amy. I like Dogma. I even like Jersey Girl. So, but I think his early stuff was the best. So this is kind of in the same mold as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is kind of their own solo movie. And it's, this is going to sound like a bad thing, but it's, I don't actually mean it as a bad thing really, but it's barely a movie at all. It's really kind of Jay and Silent Bob like traverse the Kevin Smith universe for like an hour and a half. And there's a loose story that, they're going to reboot the Blunt Man and Chronic movie. And there's a lot of good jokes about what's the difference between a reboot and a remake. And they're on the way to Hollywood to stop the reboot. And they want to crash Chronic Con instead of Comic Con. So there's obviously a lot of Comic Con jokes in there too. So that's really all there is to a story. They meet up with these 4 young girls. One of them is Jay's daughter. That's not a spoiler really. And, so it's one of those movies where, over the course of the movie, he learns to be a good father. It's one of those. So there is a story, but it's more or less just Jay and Silent Bob traverse the Kevin Smith universe. There's all sorts of characters from his other movies that pop in. It's that kind of movie. If you're a Kevin Smith fan, you're going to love it, to pieces. And I am a Kevin Smith fan for the most part, so I did enjoy it. I did like it. It wasn't like a great movie. The hit to miss ratio with the jokes could definitely be a little higher, but it goes like from lame to really funny to back to lame to like funny again, like for the whole movie. But ultimately, in the end, I had a good time. And I definitely recommend watching it all the way through the end credits, because actually some of the funniest stuff, for me anyway, was during the end credits, when it's kind of like deleted scenes and bloopers and all that kind of stuff. So if you're a Kevin Smith fan, I don't need to tell you this. You've already watched it and you loved it. If you're a moderate Kevin Smith fan, I say give it a shot. If you like some of his movies, some of them you don't so much, I think there's enough here that you will enjoy. So yeah, I liked it. What did you think here?
I didn't like it quite as much as you, I don't think. I don't know. It was very uneven, like you said. Some of the jokes, I can't say I didn't laugh at all. I did laugh a few times. But it kind of felt like a rehash of their last Jay and Silent Bob film. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's almost the same story over again, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know, it felt like kind of going through the motions a little bit on that. And I know they try to throw in the daughter father time to grow up angle or whatever, but he never really was going to grow up anyway. So I don't know. I had definitely some issues with it. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen or anything like that, but I found myself not laughing more than actually laughing. You know what I mean? So, and that's usually a problem for me if it's a comedy and it's supposed to be like a straight up comedy for the most part. And I just it's just like, to me, it just felt like another Kevin Smith film where let me get all my famous friends in this film. And it was nothing but cameos the entire time, which is kind of similar to how some of his other films are, where they're just like a bunch of cameo after cameo after cameo. Story-wise, there's really not much of a story there. So, I don't know. I think that you have to pretty much be a Kevin Smith fan, and I think you pretty much have to like his other movies to even get this one, to even have any interest in this film. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a problem. If you're making a film just for your fans, and that's the way I felt it was, then you're limiting your audience. You know what I mean? You're limiting it to just those people that are already in the fold. You know what I mean? And you could argue that with any sequel or whatever case may be. It's already people that like the first films or whatever. But his style, this is all his people. You know what I mean? And all the cameos, even a lot of them were from cameos, reference, wink, wink to other films that they were in and that kind of stuff. So I would say that's my overall take on it. It wasn't a bad film. I just not one I would personally watch again, but I didn't hate it. So,
yeah. I can't disagree with anything that you said there, but I don't know. Well, at the end of the day, I I did enjoy it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a bigger fan of Kevin Smith than I thought, because I just like that universe, and I like Jason Mewes a lot, and especially knowing what he's been through, with his struggling with drug addiction and everything. It's good to see him seemingly healthy and in good shape. So I don't know. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's got a lot of bad jokes too, but ultimately I wound up on the I like it side. So
cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Enough about that one. Sounds like you liked it a little bit more than I did.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So, moving on to the next one with the super long title, obviously. So Eurovision. It does say the. You're wrong, buddy.
So no, you said the story of the Fire Saga.
Oh, whatever. Eurovision Song Contest. The Story of Fire Saga is the name of the film. Stars Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams. It's basically based on two kids that kind of grew up together. Their life home, well, at least his dream was they lived in Iceland. His lifelong dream was to be on Eurovision, which is basically a singing contest, kind of like American Idol, or I guess American Idol is probably the closest reference I can think of off the top of my head, where it's like a singing contest, and they basically pick the top singers from all the countries in Europe, basically, and they go to like this big contest, and usually whatever city or country singer won that contest the year before, they host a contest the next year. So this has always been Will Ferrell's character's lifelong dream. He's not a great singer, really, but not pretty much everybody in his family tells him that he has no business singing or being on the Eurovision. He just doesn't have the chops for it, basically, is what they're telling him. However, Rachel McAdams' character is a much better singer, and they grew up together. They probably it's kind of a love story too, I guess, if you will. They kind of sort of have a mild crush on each other kind of thing. But he's so dedicated to getting into Eurovision that he doesn't really, give her the time of day in terms of the relationship, I guess, if you will. So they kind of grew up together. They sing in like a band at like this bar or whatever, where everybody there pretty much only wants to hear one song that they sing. And then they always want. Yeah, what was it called again?
Ya Ya Ding Dong.
Yeah, Ya Ya Ding Dong.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the only song that everybody wants to hear from them. And they were like the luckiest people in the world, you know what I mean, as far as competitions and singing goes. So it's not really a spoiler, but basically they end up submitting their song into the contest for Eurovision. And the people for Iceland already have their top singer that they want, but they need other singers, obviously, or other people to for the competition. So they end up just picking a name randomly, or picking an album randomly, and it ends up being them. What's the name? They Fire Saga? Is that the name of their?
That's the name of their band. Yeah,
Fire Saga. Band is Fire Saga. And so they end up picking Fire Saga as an alternate. Long story short, basically a series of events happen after the competition, and they end up they end up winning the competition for Iceland based on kind of a technicality, basically.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, I don't want to get They basically end up on a technicality. They end up winning the competition for Iceland anyways, and they go on to the national stage and that kind of stuff. So it kind of goes from there, basically. That's basically in a nutshell. It's basically a singing competition comedy, if you will. I almost feel the same way about this one that I feel about Jay and Silent Bob. It just, I don't know. It was not the funniest of films I've ever seen. There was a couple laughs here and there for me, but overall, it felt longer than it needed to be for some reason. I don't know what the running time on it was, but it's a love story, and I don't know. I've seen this movie play out so many times. I mean, Blades of Glory is other than the love story part, is kind of similar to that. And then the one that I always do like that I get a lot of flack for, The Cutting Edge, is almost exactly like that, but ice skating pretty much. It literally is. It's almost exactly like that movie, but ice skating. They're ice skaters. He's not a very good ice skater. She's a great ice skater. You know what I mean? It's a comedy. It's a love story. They both aren't kind of giving each other the time of day because they're so focused on the competition, right? They end up winning on a technicality to get into like the national stage kind of thing. So it's almost that same story basically. So like I said, and there's other movies I could give examples of that are almost exactly the same thing. So overall, it was just okay in my opinion. Nothing great, nothing I would revisit, and I just personally didn't think it was overall all that funny. So that's my take.
I loved this movie. I loved it. I thought it was great. And I kind of had a feeling that I was going to like it. The
reviews were horrible.
No, they're not. It's got a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
So I've seen a lot of bad reviews for this movie.
To me, I don't think those people get it. Sorry. I think I loved it. I thought it was very funny. Not every joke is great, of course. That's pretty much every comedy. But I really enjoyed this movie. I had never heard of Eurovision Song Contest, so I didn't know it's a real thing. Apparently, it's a real thing that's been around since 1965, and it's huge in Europe. But over here in America, we're all by ourselves in a lot of ways. So I had never even heard of this. But I thought it was a really fascinating thing. Really, I love the idea that it's kind of like the Olympics for music, and I just love the music in this movie. I was kind of disappointed that all those other bands were not real bands because I kind of wanted them to be, especially that one band that was wearing like the monster costumes. I wanted that to be a real band. But yeah, I thought this movie had a whole lot of heart. It really got to me on an emotional level, which I wasn't expecting at all. Not just the love story part of it, but just like the I don't know, the love of music in there, and that it is kind of a success story, and you do really get to care for these characters after a while. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I bought the soundtrack right after it was over. It made me laugh. I didn't check my watch, even though it was a solid 2 hours long, and I thought I would probably end up checking my watch. I didn't.
I checked my watch several times, actually.
Yeah. You have no attention span, though, so.
No, I got no attention span for movies that aren't good.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I thought it was great. I loved it.
It is fairly fresh. It was like 63% or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
Whatever.
So,
I know a lot of people who liked it just as much as I do.
So. I know a lot of people that hated it.
Well,
I didn't hate it. All right.
Are lamos. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to not really have a heart to really hate this movie. I don't get it. So.
Well, if it's a comedy and it's not that funny overall, then it's pretty easy to not love it.
I thought it was really funny.
I didn't hate it. It just wasn't that good.
Yeah,
just simple as that. It wasn't really that funny. And like I said, that story's been told 1,000 times. So
sure, any underdog story. I mean, you could name any underdog story has been told 1,000 times. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter how original it is, and I think this movie is pretty original given the setting and the context. I've never seen a movie exactly like this. I've never seen an underdog story exactly like this, but of course there's been 80 million underdog stories. So I don't know. I loved it.
Cool.
I loved it.
All right. I did not. So
yeah.
Oops.
Oh, what was that?
It was both movies appearing at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was a little camera trick for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, definitely some difference of opinions on both these films, clearly. So, well, with that said, let's talk about these grades and these ratings here. Definitely going to be difference on this one, that's for sure. Unlike some of the other ones that we've done of these. So we'll start with the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
I gave that a 3.5 out of 5, a B. Yeah, I know. I almost went with the B-, but ultimately, I thought it had a lot of heart and I liked it and I had a good time. So I gave it a B, which is this face. Just a nice solid smile.
All right. Okay. I went definitely lower. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, there was some jokes there, but just overall enough to where I really cared as much. So yeah, so for me, 2.5 out of 5, and I gave it this face, which is pretty much a straight face, slight smile, no teeth kind of thing. So, but you know, maybe even not a slight smile, maybe just a straight face, really. So, yeah, just a straight face, not frowning, but just a straight face. So, cool. And Eurovision, and that's all I'm going to say. Eurovision.
Okay.
You can repeat the whole rest.
That I love. Okay. No, I won't. I think everybody knows. I loved it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. A-. I bought the soundtrack. I will definitely be watching.
Crazy.
No, man. No.
I gave 4.5 out of 5. Really?
I loved it. I will definitely be watching it again. I bought the soundtrack. So, yes,
yeah.
4.5 out of 5.
So if you're watching this at home and you have any questions of who has better movie taste, yeah, definitely watch that and tell me you give this a 4.5 out of 5. I highly doubt it.
What can I say? So that is this face. Cheesing it. I loved it. Great movie.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Let's knock that down. Definitely 2 stars. So I'll go with also 2.5 out of 5 for that one. 4.5 out of 5. I mean, that should be reserved for like the top films of the year, and this is definitely not the top film of the year, not even close. But then again, if you give 50 films a year 5 stars, and I guess then it doesn't really matter. Yeah, for me to give something 4 out of 5, or even 4.5 out of 5, what she did, I would have to like. It's got to be like top 2, probably top 3 for the whole year for me. That's me. He'll probably give 50 films that grade probably this year. So
I like movies. I enjoy things. I enjoy enjoying things.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go 2.5 out of 5. So I'm gonna give it the exact same face, just a straight face. There were some laughs in there, but not enough for me to give a full smile or anything like that. So just a straight face. So 2.5 out of 5 for both films. And then Jason obviously overinflated both of those films. But all right. Well, cool stuff. So well, we thank you guys for watching. Definitely give us your opinions if you've seen either film, both films. You know, if you decide to go out and watch them, let us know in the comments what you think. Whose grade you more align with. You given Eurovision the second highest grade possible, 4.5 out of 5, which that's a lot. So, or not. And then, kind of what are you giving Jay and Silent Bob Reboot? But we thank you guys for watching. We'll obviously be back again with another show. As always, we appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the updates or uploads that we do. And we'll be back again with another show for you guys real soon. We thank you so much, and hope you have a great day.